This is You've Already Been Hacked, recorded on 22 August 2025. Welcome back to You've Already Been Hacked. This week, we have our old adversaries causing problems, and we'll get to that story in just a minute. But before that, Cowboy, how was your week?
Hey, I resemble that comment. Let's keep age out of this. So, week was fabulous. I was not hacked that I know of, so thank you very much. How are you, my friend?
I also do not believe myself to be hacked, even though, as you all know, the professor hosts all his own websites. Did get a couple of folks to join up on our Discord, the Neural Network, from DEF CON, so that was fun. Thanks for joining, everybody that did join. For those that are interested in joining our Discord, we are still getting it up and off the ground, but the invite link is in the bottom, the very bottom of the show notes, at the end, in the description. So go ahead and take a look at that, click on the link and join us. We even have a bot that will talk to you if we're not there. And even Cowboy hasn't engaged with the bot. So it does work. It is I'd say semi-autonomous. I wouldn't call it fully autonomous at this point. Yeah.
Well, it's the only thing in my life not mean to me, so I enjoy talking to it.
Well, there you go. I did try to make sure that it had a pleasant demeanor, and it does try to be as helpful as it can be. All right, you ready to get into this?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, our top story this week is where'd everything go? Our top story this week is the FBI warns of Russian espionage via unpatched Cisco devices. A Russian state-sponsored group known as Static Tundra, I always love the names we've come up with over the years for all of these active groups, is actively exploiting a critical 7-year-old vulnerability. The vulnerability is CVE 2018-0171 in Cisco iOS and iOS XE software. Targets include telecom, education, and manufacturing sectors across multiple continents. So, Cowboy, the reason this matters is this is a textbook example of how legacy vulnerabilities remain potent weapons in the world of cyber espionage. The CVSS score for this is a 9.8, meaning it is both severe and easily exploitable.
What should you get into?
Okay, please.
Before you get into that, all right, I can't hold back anymore.
All right.
If you have this vulnerability still on your system, you deserve to be hacked. This is pre-Spanish flu. There is no excuse for having this, a 9.8 vulnerability on your system for 7 years. No excuse.
Okay, I'm going to attempt to be a devil's advocate, and you can shoot it down, okay?
Let's do it.
Okay. If some of these devices were in legacy SCADA systems by chance, right? Industrial components that just are never touched by human hands or rarely touched by human hands at this point, because they are, dare I say, mission critical operations that just cannot be disturbed. Could that be a reason why there were no updates? Maybe because they're integrated with a legacy system, maybe they any updates could break those legacy systems. Like, could that be a reason?
Sure, I will give you a 5% or less on that, because these are your typical routers and switches, not so much SCADA type devices, but it is always possible. It is always possible.
I was just being devil's advocate. I was just throwing it out there because pre 2019 vulnerabilities that are still being actively exploited in 2025. One should ask why.
I mean,
why are you letting it happen?
Yeah, if it was a 4, right?
Sure.
I'll give you that, because you prioritize, right? And maybe you didn't get there yet. I could have accepted that over a 9.8 anything sitting on your system, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Password, root.
All right. So
Oh yeah, what should we be doing,
Yeah,
Professor?
so what we should be doing is you should immediately audit your Cisco infrastructure for smart install exposures. And by immediate, again, if you're hearing about it for the first time on this podcast, you are definitely already too late. Patch or disable the feature if it's not needed. Yeah, that's another good point. Like, and this is just a general like food for thought thing. If you don't need something, even if it's a default item, turn it off. Like that should be part of your stand-up, and just turn off the feature sets you don't need, because if you're not using them, they are open portals into your network, regardless if they're designed to be open or not. Right? It's just another attack surface that you have to worry about. So if you're not using it, just disable it. I don't understand the concept to not do that. And lots of places just don't. Maybe it's just bad hygiene and education on how to operate the devices at scale. I don't know. And then finally, monitor for unusual traffic and implement segmentation to limit lateral movement. I mean, these are
Zero trust.
zero trust, tried and true, right? All important. But yeah, again, you're right. A 9.8. There's almost no excuse. Almost.
Almost.
I'm trying to be nice by saying almost, but yes, I agree with you 100%.
I'm here to be bad cop, so that's why we work so well together. So let me talk a little bit about Static Tundra real quick, because I like to get a little technical for our audiences. So Russian state-sponsored cyber espionage group linked to the FSB, right? That is the Russian Federal Security Service. So this is the Russian government, right? Operating for over a decade, long-term intel gathering. They're hitting telecommunications, higher education, and manufacturing sectors across pretty much every continent with this particular 7-year-old vulnerability. And I just saw it because so it also takes advantage of some SNMP tooling, which I'm not sure if I ever talked about it on our show, but I just hate the SNMP protocol and ports, and I'm just like turn them off.
Explain why.
There's better ways to get your logs or to log in and do your updates than using SNMP. It's old. It's always at the center of an exploit. And I personally, I would rather find other safer, probably possibly easier ways to manage your stuff than using that stupid port. Just this guy's opinion.
So, but are you talking about any version of SNMP or just SNMP v1? Because isn't v2 and I believe v3 aren't they more secure? V1 was just straight text lines, so I understand that.
Yeah, no, v1 like
if you're using v1, shame on you. Yeah,
right. Yeah. The same people probably have this CV unpatched.
Yeah,
all
probably.
Right. Two is better. 3 continues to get better. Just not. There's just better ways to do things. I'd rather SSH in, or I mean, it depends on what we're getting after, right? But if you don't need it, or if you don't know for sure it's 3,
just get rid of. Just turn it off.
Right.
Yeah, just turn it off. Well,
all right. Off my soapbox. Boop.
Okay. Our next story. DOM-based clickjacking targets password managers. Well, this is fun because this is the advice I always give people, is to use a password manager, and here we go. A new clickjacking technique was presented at DEF CON 33. I did not attend this talk, so this is why we didn't talk about it last week, and I know Cowboy didn't either, which allows attackers to hijack browser-based manager extensions using a DOM manipulation. A single click on a malicious code site could expose credentials, two-factor authentication codes, and credit card data, among anything else you store in a password manager, say in secure notes or whatever else. This matters because password managers are supposed to be your last line of defense, right? Better than using a sticky note or a password book. But this attack bypasses that user interface trust and exploits user behavior.
Trust. There it is.
Yeah, so what should you be doing? Disable autofill on sensitive sites. I think that's a given. I mean, if you're using autofill, I'm not going to say you're bad for doing it. I'm not going to say it's wrong, but if you're using it, you should use it not in a fire forget sort of way is the way I would describe it, right? Know why you're using it. Understand standalone password managers instead of use standalone password managers instead of browser extensions. So um, I'm an advocate of Vault Warden, which is an open source version of the Bitwarden system, which you can self-host and manage yourself. It does allow for the browser extension, but you don't need to use it. You could just use the application and just have everything there and have to do a copy and paste. I know, less convenient, but convenience can cost security. And then educate your users on what clickjacking is and suspicious overlays. Cowboy, thoughts?
Cyber hygiene. Educate. Yeah, I mean, Cyber Cowboy is not a fan of browser extensions. For those that aren't sure or don't know, the Google Password Manager in Chrome is not a browser extension. It's a feature built right into Chrome. So a little bit safer, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like using. I mean, I do use for some. I won't be dishonest. I do use some of my passwords in a browser-based password manager, right? But if your browser is exploited, then it's possible that those are exposable. So it's just one of those. It's another one of those type of moments.
It's how much do you care that it's protected, right? On my work laptop, I don't use anything like that at all. I've got to memorize it and use all my stuff, and all of our stuff is TFA anyway. But yeah, so it's kind of that, like, you know, do I care that they get into my Gmail, or do I care that they get into my banking?
Right. You can have my email at this point. It's all junk anyway.
Singles in your area.
Yeah, lots of them apparently.
Lots of singles.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another vector, right? And again, use what you're going to use, but use it in a manner in which you actively know why you're using it. And if you have a valid use case, that's cool, right? But you should know that. It shouldn't just be a blind trust sort of scenario. And I'll tell you what, I do install browser extensions. Don't get upset at me, Cowboy. I do install browser extensions in my browsers. I do, for certain things. And I actually will and I think this is what a lot of people don't do. I periodically go back through my extensions every so often and go, you know what? I haven't used that one in a while. I haven't used that one in a while. That one's, I don't even know what that one is. We're just going to delete that. You know, I do hygiene on that because maybe I want to try something out. Maybe there's a new AI automation helper extension, right? Like, okay, cool. Let's see what happens there. And if you just leave that stuff sitting in your browser, again, another attack surface that you're not thinking about. So just you know, clean up your workspace, as one would say. That's all.
Check this out. So this attack is actually so easy. All a actor has to do is create a fake website with an intrusive pop-up, such as a login screen or a cookie consent banner, while embedding an invisible login form so that when you click to even close the pop-up, it causes your credential information to be autofilled in the background.
Crazy. That's so easy. It's sad.
You can't get around it. You're just closing out the pop-up, right? And your stuff's autofilling. You don't even know it.
That's terrible. That's just why. Okay. Well, where do we go from there? All right, let's go to one that's a little bit closer to my personal ecosystem. Apple has patched the 0-day CVE 2025-43-300. So this was an emergency update. So if you haven't done your updates, please do so for iOS, iPadOS, and macOS. I would bet probably tvOS too, but it doesn't say that here in my notes. So we wanted to find out. To fix a 0-day vulnerability in the image IO framework. The flaw allows memory corruption via malicious image files and has been exploited in targeted attacks. This is a silent image-based exploit. So it's perfect for the attacker to do surveillance or privilege escalation against you. So be warned, do your updates. It's not too often that you hear about, you know, really heinous vulnerabilities on the Apple side of the fence. There's lots of reasons for that. It's not that it's that much more secure. It is that probably just market share, but this is one that's pretty bad. Some of the things you should be doing besides updating immediately are you should be monitoring signs of targeted exploitation, especially in a high-risk environment, such as the digital SOC. Consider sandboxing images and processing workflows before you continue using them. This way, anything you're doing with an image is segregated and sandboxed off from the rest of the system. Virtualization, containerization, things like that. Yes, more cumbersome, but more secure. Just another day in the life of using a computer in 2025. Cowboy?
Yeah, they actually said that the bug was found internally, discovered by their own folks, and addressed and improved with bounds checking. So I gotta believe we've talked about it before. I can't remember specifics, but I mean buffer overflows, right? Taking advantage of memory, bounds checking. It's too often an issue within code to allow exploitation, memory corruption and exploitation. But at least it's an extremely sophisticated attack. So luckily your script kiddies and other folks aren't running against it. It does
Well, that's
not
a net
read.
positive.
Yeah, it really is, right? That's a win we'll take. And we don't know who's behind the attacks that have happened, but again, believed to be sophisticated people that know what they're doing and are likely doing. I gotta believe if they're that sophisticated, then they're doing specific targeting, not necessarily blank get afters.
No,
But
I think that you're right. I think this would probably be a well-funded operation. I don't want to say necessarily nation state, although sure, we could go there. Could be criminal organization, could be terrorist organization, someone that's got quote unquote infrastructure, right? That's what I would guess.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Weaponization of the Pi package index packages are targeting developers. So malicious packages have been uploaded to the Pi package index, targeting developers with malware that can compromise systems and propagate through the software supply chain. Awesome. So just doing your installs now through a legitimate mean, something to worry about. This matters because dev environments are increasingly becoming attack vectors. A poisoned package can ripple through your CI/CD pipelines and production. You should be using dependency scanners and lock files. You should vet packages before installing, check the authorship and the download counts. Don't just rip it and grip it because it sounds cool. If it only has 2 downloads, the question is why? And you can, in a lot of cases, you can see that depending on your code editor of choice. I know VS Code or Codium, they show you download counts. I know a bunch of others do as well. Those are just the 2 off the top of my head. But yeah, you should know what you're using, and you should do a little guess and check. And you should be really careful too, because some names, and I'm sure this is to get the clicks, are very similar, even though it may not be the most legitimate package. So if the legitimate package has 75,000 downloads and a name that's similar has 300 downloads, maybe the valid 7,500 is the one to go with as opposed to the 300. That's just a thought. Although that everybody could be wrong too, right? So do your checks. And then finally, consider hosting a private mirror of trusted packages. You mean like the Forge server that the professor has in the digital SOC? Yes, I do. I have my own Forge server for hosting packages that I know, want, and need, so that I don't have to constantly go out and do stuff like that. Cowboy?
Yeah, so I'm going to go through right now the top 8 malicious attacks recently found on PyPI. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to say it, but I think that sounds awesome. So PyTorch dependency confusion attack. So they are uploading it with a high version number to make you think it's been uploaded and updated many times. And it reads various files, including SSH keys, and up to 1,000 files in your home directory, exfiltrated back to a C2. Kobo Python API targeting Mac computers. There you go, coming after you.
Nothing coming after me. Yep.
We got rat mutants. So information stealers, remote access Trojans are present. We've got PyWX.
Ooh.
Yep. We've got lost my spot here. Here we go. HTTOPS packages, taking advantage of that HTTP acronyms and actually manipulating the setup.py, and you can only see it in the base 64 version when you go and look at it. So, and then copycat information stealers, thousands of malicious packages via Dropbox, and then so that's kind of a quick rundown of the top 8 malicious attacks currently within PyPI. So, as we've said in other episodes about like some of the GitHub stuff, is do your due diligence before downloading.
Definitely. That's crazy. And again, it's another legitimate vector that is now being used to exploit an attack. And I don't believe, especially because of the way this stuff was designed, there is any way to harden it without a major revision, right? Like they'd have to redo some low level Python stuff to make this more secure or hardened, just because of the way it's designed today. And that's very unfortunate. All right, our last story. Async rat is being delivered via fake verification prompts. So there are threat actors out there right now distributing the async rat remote access Trojan through deceptive verification prompts. Once you click on those prompts, you unknowingly are installing malware that grants attackers full control of your system. This matters because it's the old-fashioned way of hacking. It's social engineering, and it remains one of the most effective attack vectors. And async rat is lightweight, stealthy, and dangerous. So you may not even see it anything that really stands out on your system because it's small. All right, what do you need to be doing? Well, goes back to training users to recognize fake prompts and suspicious pop-ups. Deploy endpoint protection with behavioral analytics. This is so that your user, you can understand your legitimate user behavior at the endpoints. And when behaviors go outside the norms you have established, it doesn't necessarily mean something bad has happened. I know Cowboy wakes up at 2 a.m. sometimes and just decides to start working, but that should be a flag for somebody to at least check to see if it's legitimate activity. And then block known rat signatures and monitor outbound traffic. Pretty simple stuff as far as I'm concerned. Just something else you got to be doing if you're not doing it already. Cowboy?
You know, I think most hackers can appreciate the old school stuff, right? It's like driving a vintage car around town. Everyone stops and looks, and so do we. You know, if it works, use it. You know, and there's nothing special about it. Async rat is a miso rat targeting Windows devices. It uses malicious email attachments, right? Ads, compromised websites, spear phishing, all the old school stuff. Zips.rar.doc. Yeah, like my old favorite saying: if she's a 10 and you're a 3, it's probably not real, unless you're rich. So yeah, I mean, step 1 is be real and understand yourself. Step 2 is don't click it if you don't recognize it.
Well, even if you do recognize it, you need to be careful these days because of all of the masquerading and cloning and spoofing and all that sort of stuff, right? I mean,
I trust you and I don't click on anything you send me.
I never, when you send me something, I almost delete it every time. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what else we got. I think that's all we got for this week, right? Yeah. You got anything else for us, Cowboy?
It's amazing we're able to do the show since we keep blocking each other. All right. Remote access Trojans. The only guest account that installs itself and never leaves. I'm Cyber Cowboy. Stay frosty, my friends.
And I'm the professor of cyber risk. That's all the news for this week, and we'll talk again soon. If you like this podcast, share it with your colleagues and friends. Your support is how we are able to continue to make this content. Thank you.